What's up? Hey, hello everyone. Wow. So today we are back going to be talking about Survivor season 48, episode 4. We had our tribe swap this episode. So exciting. So my name is Rachel.
I'm Alyssa, and I honestly thought when they did the tribe swap, they were going to swap to two tribes, not to three again, but they always defy my expectations. We swapped to three different tribes, and once again, the green tribe is the sucky, sucky, suck tribe. So, rip to the green tribe.
Green is cursed this season. So we start off the episode with the tribe swap, basically. New Orange, it's got Chrissy and Mitch who are on the original tribe together, and then Say and Cedric who are on original tribes together, and then Bianca as the odd person out. New Green has Joe, Shaheen, and Thomas who are all from the same team from before, as well as the same alliance in the California Girls. And then we have Kyle and Camilla, who were the same team at the start and also created a very strong bond because they have a lot of similarities. And then we've got New Purple, who is David and Charity, who started on the same tribe together, Star and Eva, who started on the same tribe together, and then Mary. So for me, looking at this, I texted Alyssa and I was like, oh, I think green is going to dominate. I'm going to pick them for my fantasy team. And I got effed over this episode.
I would like to say for the record that I told Rachel that purple was definitely going to do well, but I wasn't sure about green, and she didn't listen to me. So moral of the story is
Yeah.
you should always listen to me.
So next time I'm like, okay, maybe I'll spread things out a little bit. I had faith in the green team, but they are the star of the episode. So we'll start with the purple team since Alyssa just mentioned them. That is David, Charity, Star, Eva, and Mary. Eva on this new team immediately throws Star under the bus, which I feel like could be good and bad. I feel like if you're immediately throwing someone under the bus that quick, it could be considered sketchy. Like, oh, she's dumping all this information about Star having the Beware advantage, not having her vote, having all these things. And it's like, you just met these people. They might think that you're a like blabbermouth.
Yeah, I feel like it's kind of Eva has said before that like she isn't always great at reading social cues, and I feel like this is one of those times where maybe like a little bit more social awareness would help you realize that like maybe it's not appropriate to immediately start, dragging someone else down. Again, I feel like I say this every time, but like don't start talking about who you're going to vote out until you've actually like lost, because it feels super sketchy when you're immediately like, I'm willing to vote her out when you haven't even like lost yet. Like, wait for someone else to be like, hey, we lost. Like, how do you feel about voting out Star, instead of just offering up that information without any sort of, you know, prompting.
Yeah, and it's like, oh, within the first 10 minutes of landing on that beach, I could definitely see it as being a little bit sketchy. And like we hear from the other teams, they're like seemingly thinking, okay, it might be orange versus purple come merge because we all have a lot of players left. And so if Eva's saying, yeah, Star's on the bottom, if we were going to go to tribal, Star was going to be the one voted out. That might then get Eva voted out if people wanted to target purple, like OG purple people.
Yeah, just generally was not a super smart idea on Eva's part. I feel like she was probably just nervous about the fact that like she didn't know anyone, but you can't let your nerves get the best of you.
Yeah, we also see Eva and David bond on New Purple. Eva says multiple times that she doesn't have any female friends, and she's bonded with David because David has three sisters. And I thought this was interesting because it's like David is getting more of that good guy edit. Mary in a confessional is saying, like, David is so selfless, he's so kind, I want to be his sister. Last week we heard him talking about his girlfriend and him living in front of his dad's house. So I'm like, okay, we're learning a lot of personal information about David here.
Yeah, it almost feels like he's too good to be true. Like the sense that he's like, oh, so kind. Like multiple people were like, David just seems like such a nice guy, and I maybe this is just my personal stuff, but I'm kind of like waiting for the other shoe to drop and for David to actually be a horrible person. So
It would be funny if it's like, yeah, "Oh, David's so great," and then, like, something happens, and then he's actually got, like, a huge temper or something and, like, yells at everyone else out there. Because yeah, it's, like, interesting now, 2 weeks in a row, we get this good guy edit from David, and David's not going to tribal council.
Yeah, kind of suspicious, but I am happy that Eva found another ally, so good for her.
Yeah. Opposite of that, Charity is telling everyone that, her and David are tight, which is sort of not that true, but then Charity's also saying, "Oh yeah, David's not that good at strategy. I want to be his leader. He can just follow me around and he's the bigger threat." And then cut to David throwing Charity under the bus right after saying like, "Yeah, no one really liked Charity. She was probably going to be the first person to go out on our team."
Yeah, I thought it was kind of funny. Again, kind of made me question why we're seeing this since Orange Team didn't go, but like Charity and David definitely had very different ideas of who was going to go first.
I feel like, yeah, it's like maybe the edit is trying to make it seem like it's Star versus Charity, who's going to be the first person voted off from this tribe. It will be interesting if Charity does go home first from this team, considering it's a 2-2-1 split on this tribe. People would be like, okay, that's questionable, but maybe Mary went with purple, that kind of thing. But it seems like OG Orange maybe want to try to stick together, considering Mitch and Chrissy are trying to work together, even though they didn't work together previously. So I feel like if the word gets out that David threw Charity under the bus, that might cause problems within their OG Orange if they had some kind of agreement of like sticking together going into a swap or the merge.
Well, I feel like it's one of those things where orange and green are kind of forced to stick together because, like, if orange turns on themselves and green doesn't, then orange is then at a disadvantage for like the real merge, and vice versa. Where if green turns on themselves but orange doesn't, then green is at the disadvantage of the merge. So I feel like it was maybe one of those things where they didn't explicitly say, like, we're not going to turn on each other, but it might have been an understood thing that for the real merge, it's probably better for them to keep their tribe numbers if at all possible.
I agree. And you mean purple there?
Right. Yeah, I meant
Okay, yeah,
purple.
yeah, yeah. No, I agree. Yeah, because if like orange starts turning on each other, they're going to go into the merge with like 4 and say purple sticks strong and they go in with 6, which we see after this episode that that's not going to be the case. But I agree. It'd be a little bit scary if you're going into the merge and one team hasn't lost any single person yet.
Yeah. So they got to make sure that doesn't happen.
True. So we go over to New Orange. Chrissy says her and Mitch will work together, even though they never talk strategy beforehand, which I think is good, especially this is another like 2-2-1 split team. If you show a unified front, you're basically the power couple of the team. Everyone's going to try to go to you because you have 2 votes, compared to like Say is immediately throwing Cedric under the bus a little bit to Bianca.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting that Say was kind of immediately like get the vibe on Cedric because she was like, I'm not saying anything negative about him, but she also definitely wasn't saying anything positive about him. And so it's kind of like Bianca said, like there's a crack there. So
Yeah, like if Bianca did have a vote, then you'd want to go over to Orange and team up with Orange, because then it would be 3 versus 2 with like Say and Cedric fighting amongst each other. So I think that's why the unified front is good, even if it is a little bit fake. At least now, okay, Chrissy and Mitch are like the power couple of the team. If the odd person out did have a vote, you'd want to go with the stronger duo potentially, not the duo that's fighting and is going to cause problems later.
you want the duo that will stick with you when the merge comes instead of bailing. So I feel like definitely Say made an interesting choice. I feel like it was kind of emotionally motivated because she was like, Cedric voted for me. I don't know how I feel about that. She and Mary had that whole thing of like he betrayed you as a person instead of just like betraying you in the game. So yeah.
It's what we said last week. Cedric should have voted out Say, because you can't just write her name down twice and not expect any like bad blood between you guys. But I feel like on New Orange, it seems like Chrissy, Mitch, and then Cedric could be the top, and then it seems like Say and Bianca are going to be on the bottom, where Cedric and Mitch, they bonded over them both having speech impediments, and then maybe Cedric brings in Say, but Say, if they went to two tribal councils, then I could see Bianca and Say both getting voted out.
Yeah, I feel like Bianca might go first just because I feel like Cedric would be like willing to still work with Say and like give her that extra
Mhm.
chance, but I think it would probably be Bianca and then Say.
I agree. I think Bianca's in a really bad spot here, especially because she doesn't have a vote, and Prissy wants to vote out OG Purple people. Cedric and Mitch bonded. Even if Cedric and Say have a problem with each other because she doesn't have a vote, it really needs to be like a three versus one vote. And so that would be like Chrissy, Mitch, and Cedric voting against Say, which is probably not going to happen unless something really blows up. I think real like not having a vote for her really is not going to do good for her.
Yeah, I feel like it's hard because she lost her vote under one circumstances, but she still doesn't have her vote even though her circumstances have changed. It's kind of like maybe the losing your vote should be erased if tribe swap or something like that, but I think that would actually be a really bad idea, but something like that happening, you know?
Yeah, because she's got no leverage. She better not tell anyone. She cannot let slip that she lost her vote, because then it's really just the sitting duck and easy vote out here. Yeah, I think really going to be very difficult unless maybe she starts drama between Say and Cedric and makes them fight more, or goes to Cedric and is like, yeah, Say's trying to vote you out. But maybe Cedric feels so bad that he tried to do that before that he won't be willing to try to do it again. I feel like it'll be very interesting to see what happens, but I can definitely see Bianca going home first here.
I could definitely see Bianca going home first as well. So sucks to suck. Sucks to be tribe swapped.
So we get to the immunity challenge. It's a sandbag obstacle course and then a three-tier puzzle at the end. I feel like the puzzle could be fun to DIY. Looks complicated. The 3D puzzle is always sort of difficult. Green and orange teams, they are first to the puzzle. Purple was lagging on the throwing the sandbags through the puzzle pieces without knocking them down. Green actually gets the puzzle like completed first, but something's not right and the pattern isn't going all the way around. And then purple catches up from being dead last after the throwing the sandbag portions and wins it, and orange gets second.
Yeah, I almost feel like sometimes it's hard when you have a couple of pieces wrong. Sometimes it feels like it would actually be easier just to like undo it and redo it all rather than like figuring out how to just move around a couple pieces, because if you move one piece then maybe that makes another piece wrong and then another piece wrong, and it's kind of like just start from scratch.
Yeah, I feel like something like this, it's like where the brown was showing and not the pattern. It's going to be very difficult to try to figure out what's incorrect when all the other pieces are in. And so you can't really look at the shape of what you need because the stuff is in your puzzle already. It's not like it's on the ground.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't know. I was kind of hoping green would win just because the green tribe was cursed, but the green tribe curse continuing is also kind of fun.
Yeah, I was happy for Mary, Say, and Cedric. They finally have a night off, so it's cute to see them celebrate. But then personally, I was like, dang, this sucks because I picked like three people from this team in my fantasy, so I'm gonna not get any points.
You should have listened to me, is what I'm
I
saying.
know, next week. So we go back to New Green. They've got a cursed camp. Their camp like really sucks. They've got no flint. They're really got a downgrade from their camps previously. It is interesting though, the idol was rehidden on Green from Say's idol, it seems like, because at the start of the episode, we see Mary say Cedric looking for the idol and it flashed it to us. So there is an idol on Green and not from Kyle just playing the idol, but it'll be interesting to see if one of the new four can find the idol next time.
I feel like the new green is really just focusing on getting their camp to be less bad because they like all arrived at the camp and were like, what? So I feel like they maybe are making some shelter improvements, trying to make it less miserable. And maybe idol hunting is lower priority when your camp life just sucks.
I wonder if it's a thing. It's like you're spending so much energy and time fixing this, and you don't have a flint, and you don't have fire, and you don't have all the luxuries because this team never won anything. So you don't have the tarp, you don't have like the comfort or random food items, stuff like that. Just sort of like a compounding bad.
Mm-hmm. It's like the haves versus the have-nots. The green team is the have-not.
Exactly. So Camilla and Kyle, they pretend like they don't really know and like each other that much. They weren't in the same alliance on the starting tribes. And I was like, this is so good. The finesse is so good here. I feel like it's such a fine line to draw to not overplay your hand and be like, yeah, I hate that person. They're so dumb. Like that might be a little bit too strong. It comes across fake or lying. But the way they towed that line of like, yeah, she's chill, but like we're just not like that. She wasn't really on the bottom, da da da. Like that's more believable, I feel like.
Yeah, I also feel like they did a really good job of like kind of selling that in the way they acted towards each other in addition to what they were saying. Like Camilla being like, I was on the bottom, and Kyle being like, yeah, I wouldn't say that. Like that's a very realistic survivor conversation to have had. So
True. And it seems like they didn't even talk prior to just coming up with the lies of, yeah, we're not that close. And they just both went along with it. So I was like, oh, that's so great. They're on the same wavelength. Because I feel like if you're not truly as close as they were or you're not on the same wavelength, like if Chrissy and Mitch started lying like that, then it might be like, what are you talking about? Like, what do you mean? We were totally like not close, or we totally are close. Why are you lying to them? And then one tries to throw the other under the bus for making it up as fake. So it's good that they're actually really close and they're on the same page on this without even having to communicate about it.
yeah. Also, it seems like they are going to give similar stories even when they're like disconnected from each other, because I feel like the real danger of doing this lie off the cuff is that they accidentally contradict each other in their one-on-one conversations. So it seems like they didn't do that. Like they really tricked everyone.
Yeah, I thought it was really good. I think the bad thing here was Camilla throwing Thomas under the bus with her conversation with Star on the sit-out bench because she's saying Mitch said you can't walk away from the journey. Thomas said you can walk away from the journey. Like it brings suspicion on Thomas, and like she doesn't really know how close the three men are, and it turns out they are very close as well. So that's a little bit bad because sure, it can bring up suspicion, but maybe they're less suspicious because they're so close with Thomas compared to like a random outsider. And like we saw, Thomas can just easily say, like, I'm not lying, Mitch is lying. And then it's harder to corroborate until you swap again or get to the merge.
Yeah, I think it was interesting how Thomas's first defense was like maybe Mitch was lying to them. But I feel like of the two of them, it would make more sense to lie about walking away than it would be to lie about not being able to walk away, if that makes sense.
Exactly, because like Thomas's lie saying, I walked away, that means, okay, you didn't get an advantage and you didn't lose your vote. Compared to Mitch saying you're forced to play, that means you have something or you lost your vote. So it's like Thomas's lie is better because then people won't suspect you. But when it's contradicted, it's worse for you because now they're like, okay, does Thomas have an advantage?
Exactly. So it's going to
And
be
I feel
very
like that's
interesting,
sort
I
of
think.
where Yeah, I feel like that's sort of where Thomas gets in a pickle this episode, because Thomas wants to vote Camilla out because Camilla is sharing this stuff, whereas the other two guys want to vote Kyle out because they think Camilla's on the bottom of her OG team. She sold it so well that she's really out of the loop. We can bring her in as our like lost dog kind of thing. I feel like it's a hard spot for Thomas because he didn't share the advantage with the California girls originally, that now it's sort of awkward to bring up, especially after Camilla just called him out for lying about it.
Yeah. So I feel like Thomas kind of dug his own grave here with just like not telling his alliance about anything to start with, and then also when it becomes kind of more relevant, you could pull them aside and be like, "Yeah, I didn't want to tell you because I was worried, but I feel like we've built enough trust now." But he was kind of in a no-win situation there.
I agree. And then it's like, okay, such small chances that Kyle or Camilla have an idol, and then they're going to target you. It's like, okay, 1 in 6 that maybe Kyle or Camilla has the idol. Maybe they play it, or they play the shot in the dark. It's also 1 in 6 chance for shot in the dark. So it's like, okay, you're trying to think like 2 or 3 steps ahead. But in such a small tribe where it's 3 versus 2, I feel like that's sort of difficult to do. Um, especially like, but maybe Thomas could be like, okay, I'm gonna play my steal a vote. You steal like Kyle's vote because you're wanting to eliminate him. Then he can't play the shot in the dark. The only way that he can save himself would be the idol.
Yeah. I guess they could have split. No, they couldn't have. So it was a whole mess. Poor Thomas.
Yeah, I guess if they stole a vote, then maybe you could split because then it'd be 2 versus Camilla's 1 vote. Or it'd be 3. It'd be 4 versus 1. So then you could split 2-2, and then whoever
Oh
Camilla
yeah,
votes for, right?
yeah, you could. I guess I kind of forgot that stealing a vote means one less vote because I was thinking it would be 2-2-2, but it would actually be 2-2-1. So
So yeah, it's like interesting. It's like, okay, because you didn't share it, maybe there's less brainstorming happening, that kind of thing. Um, and I guess we talked about it last time. Bianca told him, he didn't tell Bianca, and Mitch told everyone, Camilla told everyone. Maybe new era meta, you want to tell people because maybe they can help you brainstorm. If more people know, like, okay, these are all the cards that we have on the playing field, that could be easier for you to strategize because it's like Kyle and Camilla both knew, okay, we've got the idol and we have an extra vote. How can we strategize around this to make it best case scenario for us?
yeah, I feel like definitely the idea of an us is something that I feel like people in the new era have been coming around to more. Like the idea of it needs to be what's best for my alliance, and if my alliance goes far, that is better for me.
So the California girls, they go through Kyle's bag. They didn't check his shoe. And they checked the bag right in front of Camilla, and so they're like, okay, that's probably meaning that they're going to vote Kyle out. So maybe that's a faux pas too, to be so obvious about it, rather than like, okay, just saying Camilla, vote Kyle, Kyle, vote Camilla, and then building that trust next time, rather than like blatantly doing it in front of her. Because if they did have an idol, now it's like, play it for Kyle.
Exactly. So I do wonder about the alternate universe where they check in Kyle's shoe and find the idol. Like, what would have happened instead?
True. Then it's maybe you try, and then I feel like if they did find the idol, then Thomas has to share about the extras, the steal a vote, because that's the only way I think you can combat the idol, because you can't split 3 votes when they've got 2 votes.
Yeah. So I don't know. Spicy.
True. So we get to tribal council. Jeff is basically giving Kyle, Camilla, Thomas their like sad goodbye speeches. I wonder if anyone's red flags were raised when Kyle mentioned that him and Camilla have a lot in common, like they're both being Guyanese. I was like, okay, if I heard that, I'd be like, huh, that maybe is a red flag. Are they lying to me about how close they are?
Yeah, I feel like that would be when I would start panicking a little as the other people because, like, they told us they weren't that close, and yet they have this, like, obscure fact that they both know. I guess Kyle kind of knew that the gambit was going to be up after it was obvious that Camilla voted with him to vote Thomas out, but I still would not have said anything until the votes were read.
True, because it could have spooked them. Maybe they had an idol, or it became a live tribal council or something like that if someone got spooked. But yeah, I definitely feel like if you're saying things that you both have in common, I would question, like, oh, Okay, sure. You could be friends, but you might not be working together. But for me, I'd be like, oh, I would want to work with people that had that obscure fact or similarity with me rather than not working with them. So I'd be like, huh, maybe they are friends.
Yeah, I would also be like, huh, maybe they are friends.
So Kyle and Camilla are straight killers. They do a three versus three vote, which I thought was also very smart. It protects Kyle and Camilla if Kyle played the idol incorrectly, because if it's a three versus three tie, three on Camilla, three on Thomas, Kyle safe, they would revote, and then you do all the deadlock stuff. Basically, Thomas would still get eliminated because Kyle would just be steadfast, I'm not changing my vote, and Shaheen and Joe would have to switch and vote out Thomas there, which I think that would have been
Yeah.
freaking spicy if they
That would
deadlocked
have
it.
been
Uh,
amazing. It would have
yeah,
been
because at
spicy
first I
also
was
to
like,
have
oh,
two deadlocks in a row.
I agree. At first, I was thinking, oh, that's sort of a waste of your extra vote because now next time it's 2v2 and there is that idol hidden out there, but still, it's 2v2. There's probably a journey next time where someone might lose their vote or get an advantage, which usually involves an extra vote, steal a vote, lose a vote. So I feel like it's low-key dangerous for them to go into a 2v2 split next time.
Yeah, it is low key dangerous, but I also am kind of looking forward to how they maneuver out of it because I feel like Kyle and Camilla are like smart enough that they would probably be able to figure it out. But yeah,
Yeah,
I
like
think
what's
it's
the
always
next
fun.
move? Because the gig is up that they don't dislike each other. Maybe they can lie and say, "Yeah, he pulled me aside and wanted to do this, hee hee, but we're actually not that close. I want to work with you, Shaheen," and try to do the same thing again. But I feel like it would be very difficult in a 2v2 split. I hope no one loses their vote because I think it would be more interesting if we see how this battle happens without advantages.
Yeah, so fingers crossed. Oh, that would be so good.
So Thomas really took being voted out like a champ. He was happy and smiley while being voted out. So I was like, oh, that's a good game. Like that really sucks. You're literally blindsided. It's a three versus two. You think everything is all good, maybe, and then you're eliminated. It's gotta suck.
Yeah. But he also, like you said, seemed to be just really happy to have gotten to play Survivor. I feel like people have been saying he has a good chance of getting to come back just because he was like a pretty interesting pre-merge boot. But who knows?
I want to see Thomas again. I feel like he was a good low-key villain. He had very good confessionals. So I honestly thought he was making it very far, and the California Girls Alliance was going to make it to Final Eight. So it's sort of sad that one was taken out so early.
Yeah, but also I feel like it's kind of good that a super strong alliance isn't going into the merge because if there was an alliance of three going into the merge, it would kind of be like, eh, not as fun.
True, and high key, the repercussions, Kyle and Camilla are helping a lot of people out. You break up the California girls, you break up Thomas and Bianca. Now it's like Joe and Eva are still close, and Shaheen is like a little bit of a third wheel there. I feel like voting out one of Purple here and especially I feel like Thomas was a very integral part. He was in like every alliance on Purple besides with Eva, but even they had the California girls plus Eva. Like voting out the integral person of this team is going to create repercussions.
Yes, it's interesting to see if they'll still be glued together without Thomas. So,
Yeah, seemed like Thomas was the connector. Thomas was with Bianca, Thomas was with Bianca and Star, Thomas was with the men, and then they had the four-person with Bianca, four-person with Star. No more Thomas. Now it's spicy.
now it is spicy. I love when like going forward we start to get this kind of momentum and like you kind of begin to see how things are going to fall apart. So,
Yeah, I'm excited for next week. A lot of different things can happen. Low key, sort of want to see them go to tribal council again so we can see how they battle it out here. Because if there are no advantages, or maybe someone finds an idol, Hopefully no one loses their vote because then that just sucky. It's a 2v1, but you can also lie about not losing your vote. It'll be interesting to see how it's navigated.
Yeah. Fingers crossed.
Yeah, so let us know in the comments down below what you thought of this episode. Did you think that Kyle and Camilla played this correctly? Were their acting skills very good? Were you sad that Thomas got voted out here? Let us know in the comments below. Thank you all for watching, and we